Good afternoon and welcome to Forge for Mine. I'm Duke, that's Gatesy. Today we're going to take on Gatesy's tier list. I'm now in the hot seat for this one because Gatesy's done all the other videos. So now it's me taking the lead. I don't like it. It's not much fun for me. I prefer to be that side of the screen. No, well, I don't. That way.
The other way.
Yeah, that way. There. I prefer to be that side of the screen, sitting there and letting him do all of this. That being said, Gatesy, I'm going to put this over to you to do your traditional opening gambit, if you will, for young Isla. So over to you, and then we'll do your tier list.
Okay, so thanks for joining us, ladies and gentlemen. So for those of you that have been with us all through this, you'll know what this is all about. This is for Isla's Army, this shout out. Isla Caton, 6 years of age, young girl suffering with a really rare and aggressive form of childhood cancer called neuroblastoma. There's no treatment for this in the NHS, ladies and gentlemen, so her family have got to put her entire life on pause, cart this poor little girl wherever it is they can to try and save her life. It's really expensive, really stressful time for this family, let alone the fact it's happening in the middle of a pandemic. Now, I appreciate that this pandemic has been tough on all of us, but for this family, it's been absolute hell on earth, let me tell you. So we're just asking for any donations to try and help this young girl to save her life, basically. I just ask you to put yourself in this family's shoes, and just imagine for a moment, God forbid, that this is your son, your daughter, your grandchild, your nephew, your niece, any small infant member of your family that was suffering with this at this particular moment in time. I think you could probably imagine the sort of stress it would cause you or your family and all the rest of it. So I think you can empathize if you have a family. All we're asking, guys, if all you can put in the tin is £1, fantastic. That would be great. The more, the merrier. If you've got more than you can put in the pot, even better still. But if all you can put in is a pot, it will be received with a great deal of thanks and gratitude from the family. You've got a PayPal page. You've got a Just Giving page. I ask you to give as generously as you can. If you cannot give generously or at all, more to the point, because times are tough, and I completely understand that. All I'd ask you to do, though, guys, is to share this message far and wide, because it may well be that there's someone in your friends list, contact lists, that can put a little bit into the pot. So share, and share again. I thank you very much indeed for your consideration.
I just want to talk about your shirt, Gatesy. That's the centenary job, isn't it?
It is, and it's not a copy. This is the one that I got when I was, so I'd have been about 20. Yeah, 1920 when we got this.
1920?
And it's still, no, 19, 20 years of age I was, and it still fits me.
Yeah, all right, mate. That's been the missus has added panels down the side, hasn't she? I get it. It's fine. Yeah, I understand. Right, listen. For those of you who have seen these tier lists that we've been doing over the last month or so since we started the channel, you'll know what it is about. For those of you who haven't, right now, Gatesy is sitting in David Moyes' hot seat at the end of the season. He gets to now pick and choose from the list of players. Gatesy, you got the long one?
I have, yeah. I thought,
is it 30,
it's there, 38? 38 players.
38 players Gatesy gets to choose from, including the under 23 developmental squad. As you can see, he's already done it, so it saves us a bit of work. Under 23 developmental squad and the first team. He's going to choose from that list where he wants them to be. So we've got long-term future, 3 seasons at the club or more, one or two seasons, the older statesmen, those kind of players. And you've got star of tomorrow, some of the under 23s there that are, looking to make the grade. Not sure, Gatesy's unsure what he's going to use them for, where they fit. And then the bottom one, as Gatesy likes to use, it's 2 simple words. See ya. Out of the club they go, on to hopefully not bigger things, but hopefully for them better. So Gatesy, obviously you're in Moyes' shoes. You've got the decisions to make.
Yeah.
Tell me each player there that you've put in each section, why you've put them there. Okay. In your opinion, obviously this is a game of opinions. With I will grill you on some of them as you go through, as I have done with some of the other people that we've done these videos for. Fire away, my friend. The floor is yours.
Okay, so the first player in the long-term future category that I've put, in my opinion, if I was David Moyes in the summer, Syed Ben Rahman. Now, I appreciate that as yet he's yet to score his first goal for the club in any competition. But I've been doing a little bit of digging, and when this video goes out, so this isn't a spoiler, because by the time this video goes out, I'll have already done a video on Syed Ben Rahman. So what I'm about to say, I've already done in a video that I'm yet to record, but by the time this goes out, it was in the past. Wibbly wobbly, timey wimey, as Doctor Who says.
What in God's green are you going on about, boy?
It'll make sense later. Anyway,
I'm hoping so.
Syed Ben Rahman has played 20 matches in the Premier League, 10 of which were starts, 10 of which were appearances off the substitute bench. He's also had 2 matches where he was an unused sub. So 20 matches where he's been on the pitch for a period of time. I did a little bit of research, and it averages out that he's contributed 49 minutes just over per match on average. Now, as I've said to someone on our False Remind Facebook page, it's a bit of a chicken and egg for me with Syed. Is his lack of minutes on the pitch the reason why his assists, why his goals output seems to be so poor, or is the assists and goals stat the reason why he's playing 45 minutes? You know, which one comes first? However, that being said, he's 25 years of age. He's on a contract until the summer of 2026. He has to be in the long-term future category for me. I think we have to give him this season as a little bit of an acclimatization period. Some players can come from the Championship and hit the ground running. I mean, Jarrod Bowen took a couple of games before he was into the team off and running. Syed is taking a little bit longer to bed in, but I seriously do believe that once he clicks, and I think the key is that first goal. I've said it on a couple of the previous videos. I seriously do believe that the first goal is going to be the key moment for him. It will be a bit like Carlos Tevez. He'll get that first goal and he'll be off. So for me, long-term future, 3+ seasons. I think we have to. I mean, we've spent 25 million quid, 20 million of which we paid in January window, 6 months ahead of schedule. So someone at the club, whether it was David Moyes or David Sullivan, we don't know, but someone at the club obviously rates this guy, trusts this guy long term, not just what they're giving now. So I think he has to be long-term future for me.
Fair enough. I mean, yeah, just touching on obviously what you've said there about Ben Rahman and his stats, and I know you're going to do a video on this to go out before we put this one out. And again, we were talking just before we press record. One of the posts you put in the False Remind Facebook group there, where you've obviously been going backwards and forwards and talking with someone, it was posted on the West Ham United Live Facebook page. Ben Rahman's stats. So matches started. In all competitions, 12, won 9, drawn 2, lost 1.
Yep.
On the bench, played 11, won 4, drawn 1, lost 6. Now, whether that's him coming off the bench for, the last 5 or 10 minutes, whether he doesn't get off the bench, however you want to work it. But his win percentage of matches started is 75%. And his win percentage of games that he's either been on the bench or came off the bench is just over 36. Now, it's exactly what I said to you a minute ago. You've got someone on the False Remind page that has mentioned, has put a screenshot, 20 games, 4 assists, 0 goals, and asked the question, is this good enough? And I said to you, I would like, hopefully before you do the video on Ben Rahman, you and me to sit down, because I'd like to work out what his involvement of key passes and direct influence on the goals that we have scored. You look at the game against against Villa, the 1-2s with Lingard and the movement, and he's involved in a lot more of what we do key pass wise and chances created than those stats, the 20 games, 4 assists, no goals actually give him credit for. So I'd actually be curious, and I might do that in between, everything that we've got going on between us, as well as obviously me opening the pub and stuff. I'd like to find out what he's actually involved in, because very much like you, I'm a very, very big fan of Ben Rahman. And I actually, like you say, he's 25. He's probably got 2 or 3 years before he hits what is generally considered peak time for an outfield player. 28, definitely. 29. You'll get some that will kind of hit that stage early, and the gentleman at the end of the top row here, I would consider to be one of those people that is lucky enough to hit a career high quite early in his career, But no, I look forward to seeing more of Benny. I really do. I think he's got a fantastic West Ham career. And just looking at those win stats of games started, I don't understand why he's not used more. Yeah, so absolutely. On to number 2 then, Squire.
Just before we go on.
Go on in.
I think that it's unfair to judge Syed on 49 minutes on average per match in the Premier League.
Shocking.
I think if you really want to judge him, you've got to put him in at least 6, and I would suggest upwards of 10 Premier League matches consecutively, playing at least 70 minutes per, before you can really judge him. Now, if he was to play 10 games consecutive in the Premier League and he had a minimum involvement of 70 minutes or beyond in each of those 10 matches, and if at the end of that you could look at his stats and go, well, his assists have not really gone up significantly, he still hasn't got a goal, then I'd be the first to hold my hands up and go, do you know what, it's not working out. Maybe he's not cut out for the Premier League. But I don't think you can judge him on 49 minutes on average per game, where he's had 20 games in the Premier League, only 10 of which were starts.
Yeah, it's not fair on the lad. He's, like I say, great career in front of him. I think, you and I, fingers crossed we keep this channel going for a significant number of years with a bit of luck. You look at the other guys, they've been going for some time. If you and I can work a way around, obviously, once things get back to what we consider generally normal, hopefully we can keep this going, and hopefully we can watch Benny's career develop as a West Ham player.
Absolutely.
I like it. Go on in, number 2 on your list.
Okay, so Jarrod Bowen. Now, obviously, when we first signed him, he was gently eased into the David Moyes team, obviously in the middle of a relegation battle at that point. But after his first couple of games sort of coming off the bench, I seem to remember he came off the bench at Anfield and almost scored, but didn't. And then he was involved in the last game at London Stadium before the shutdown. And I remember, I think he played as part of a front three with Sebastian Haller and Michael Antonio. He scored a debut goal. We won the game 3-1, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
And obviously after we came back after the restart, no crowds. From then on, I thought he was absolutely brilliant. He was involved in quite a lot of our attacking moves. He came from Hull City in the Championship for most of it. He did have a bit of involvement in their season in 2016-17, where he had 7 Premier League appearances. So he wasn't a complete novice to the Premier League, but he'd had obviously limited experience. He had 131 appearances for Hull and scored 54 goals. So in the Championship, in the main, he was, operating at a very, very good standard, on a personal level, even if his club was struggling during that time. He's obviously come to West Ham now. As we record this, he's had 40 appearances and 6 goals. I'm not too sure what his assist stats are. I haven't got them in front of me, but he started this season. I thought he started this season really well, and then it seems to have tailed off a little bit of late for me. I know the club put out something about he's got some sort of, do excuse my dog barking in the background. Someone just walked past our front bay windows, and she's a little dog. She's a French bulldog, but she thinks she's an Alsatian, so I do apologise for that. Back on the page. So yeah, I mean he's got 5 goals this season, but a lot of them were sort of earlier in the season.
Yeah,
Like I say, there was the thing about he's got some underlying medical or health issue that he's battling through right now, and that's all I know. I don't know what it is, but I think that's tied in with the reason why he's the most subbed player in the squad, I do believe.
yeah, we discussed this
So
before, didn't we?
yeah, so
Mm.
I think you have to factor that in and maybe give him a little bit of slack as to maybe that's an underlying reason why maybe his performances of late have tailed off.
He
I
has
just
3 assists, by the way.
I just hope that whatever this issue is can be sorted in a timely fashion. There does seem to be a lot of people getting on his back, and I'm the first one to hold my hands up and say that his decision making in the final third isn't good enough. Quite often, he'll shoot when he should pass. He'll pass when he should shoot, and his head, is down more often than it should be. But these are things that I think David Moyes can work on on the training
Yeah,
pitch at Rush Green. I think we can get the best out of him. And as I say, he's only 24. So I personally, at this moment in time in the summer, I think if I was David Moyes, I'd be looking at him and saying, I'm looking at keeping this guy for the next 3 seasons beyond, because obviously, again, he's 24 years of age. So in 3 years, he'll be 27, which is usually going to be the sort of like the time when he should be at his peak. Now, obviously, a year further down the line, if his performances haven't improved, then it may be that if you're going to do this tier list again, then you might be sort of maybe nudging him down a rung or two,
yeah,
or maybe even all the way to the bottom if his performances are completely just not up to standard. But I
yeah.
think if you're looking at it in the summer, for me, I would be putting him there and obviously reassessing it 12 months down the track.
Yeah, it's a fair shout. I mean, again, much like you, and looking through your list you've got there's a lot of similarities, obviously, between the pair of us. We're both of kind of a similar age, a few years younger, but very much of a similar age. So we both have we've kind of grown up with the same sort of teams, the same sort of players. I say that you probably remember some of them a little bit better than me because a few years older. So the types of players that Ben Rahman and Bowen both are, we kind of remember, earlier iterations of them, if you will, from probably the mid to late 80s and so on, the likes of Kevin Keane, Stuart Slater, those kind of tricky winger type, Mark Ward, Robson, those types of players, like to beat players.
Devonshire, another one.
I'll tell you what, man, he used to glide across the floor, didn't he? Let's be honest.
Wingers. We love tricky wingers at West Ham. We've always been a club
it's an entertainment thing, isn't it? I think we're entertained by those players.
Yeah, but I mean, I think that modern football, there's not really what I would call proper wingers much around. The sort of like most of the wing play, as far as I'm concerned, seems to come from fullbacks bombing on. The wingers are not really wingers. They're inverted. They're inside forwards, because a lot of the time you'll have a right footer on the left and a left footer on the right. So that the tendency is that they'll cut in and get shots away, whereas the width tends to come from the fullbacks. I'm a little bit old school. I like my wingers to have a go on the outside, beat the fullback, and try and get the crosses in for the forwards.
I mean, I'm going to regret mentioning this name, and I think he was one of the last real kind of wingers, if you will. He wasn't overly successful with us, and I was kind of disappointed with how his career for us did actually pan out. Considering how much money we actually spent on him from Wolves, would be Matt Jarvis.
Yeah.
I would have, I love the idea of when we signed Jarvis that we were getting that kind of player, the old school winger, Matty Etherington, kind of that kind of ilk, beat players on the outside and get a ball into the box. And unfortunately for Jarvis, it didn't work out. But again, talking with other guys on these videos, and I know Fatboy James Fever, he doesn't like a left-footed player on the right and a right-footed player on the left. He would prefer them to be their traditional. But Bowen is actually a left-footed player that plays on the right because he does like to cut in. So part of me would like to see what he could do if he was on the left-hand side,
100%.
and he actually took the players out on the wide and whipped across in. Because let's be honest, when you've got players like Souček, Rice, Antonio, those sort of players that can get into the box, I'd like to see what Bowen could do, and if his assists would be more, rather than getting down that right wing, checking, maybe either laying Soufal through to whip that ball across, or to check back onto his left to put a ball in. Don't get me wrong, when he does that, was it against Spurs? Was it he that crossed it for Antonio's? That was an awful ball to have to deal with for that Spurs defence and goalkeeper. Like, honestly, I played centre back, as we've discussed, and I wouldn't know what to have done with that. It was literally what you class as perfection.
It was unplayable,
on the money. So I'd like to see again, but I would like to see what he can do on the other side. Going forward, who you got up there next?
Vladimir Soufal. Just love this guy's attitude. He's got a winner's mentality. 28 years of age, 5.4 million from Slavia Prague. He's got Champions League experience, but as I say, more than that, the guy just wants to win. And it doesn't matter what the opposition is. He won't go into a match thinking of anything other than just getting the win. And that was shown in all its glory after the 2-1 defeat at the Etihad. Everybody else is sort of slapping opposition players on the back, shaking hands, swapping shirts, and no, not for Vladimir. He's crouched down on the pitch. He's got his head in his hands like that. He looks absolutely distraught that they've gone to the team that have, in my view, they're inevitably going to be Premier League winners this season. They're quite conceivably going to win the quadruple if things play out right for them. And yet we've ran them close. On another day might have got a point. On another day might have got all three. But on this particular occasion, we've come on the wrong side of a 2-1 defeat. And he's absolutely crestfallen, which to me says this is a guy that is just, he's got a winning mentality. He just doesn't like defeat. He'll be totally cheesed off about it, which is what we want. We don't want players that are content with being second best. I'm fed up of that mentality. People say it's not the winning, it's the taking part. Nonsense. Not for a Premier League footballer. That's the mentality that you have when you're doing an egg and spoon race at school sports day. You can have that mentality there, not a problem. Everybody turns up, everybody gets a medal. Isn't that nice? Real life isn't like that, people. There's success and there's failure. You go to a job interview, it's not, it's the taking part that counts. No, it's about getting the job. No ifs, no buts. Okay.
Simple as,
real life, it's not about winning, isn't, everything. I'm sorry. It's the only thing for a professional sportsman. And Vladimir Soufal gets it.
He epitomised that against Man City. You're right. Definitely. I mean, he is. I have to say, some of the news stories that I've seen over the last 24 hours of the guy.
Him on the bus.
I'm unsure. Yeah, again, I'm unsure. I mean, if it's, don't get me wrong, if it's not him, it's a bloody good doppelganger.
Oh, 100%. I think
it was. You know what? And the more I look at it, the more I actually think it could be. Because he was there with he was there with a buggy, wasn't he? So it was obviously a little, because did he have a newborn baby recently, or before he came over? That it was a relatively young child.
It was him or if it was Thomas, I'm not sure.
He's probably out looking after Souček's baby, probably knowing him. He's that kind of guy.
They're like brothers, aren't they?
Yeah, I love the way that they are together. You only saw that against was it against Spurs when Fabianski came out to punch and absolutely wiped Soufal out? Literally ended up putting him in a different postcode and Souček over.
Yeah.
I think the memes were, find yourself someone who wants to look after you like Thomas looks after Vladimir. I think that was, you know, the meme. And, you know, you get all the stuff there, you know, checkmates and, you know, all of that. But I don't think it's just the two of them. I think there's more of it within the squad, you know, but it does stem from them. It does stem from them. And yeah, part of me kind of hopes that there are more to come, in the sense of, you know, we got both of those for £26 million. You know, it was 26 million.
Absolute bargain.
Which is ridiculous in the grand scheme of 25 million pound. Oh no, yeah, because it was 19 for Souček, wasn't it? So so let's say 25 million quid. You know, I made a comment a couple of days ago about a couple of strikers coming in, and obviously there are other people out there that think that they're going to cost us slightly more. So be it. You know, if that's the case, maybe we structure the deal. I mean, I personally think we could get them both for at most probably about £20 million each, both strikers. If that's the case, I don't think we can say no. You know, Sima and Hosek will both know Souček and Soufal there. So hopefully they'll have a part to play, you know, not necessarily tapping up, but in the old ear and hopefully they could, you know, there might be a bit of convincing. But I think that the two of those, as you said there, epitomise what it is that is created in this squad there, that Moyes has built. They are key. Right, who's next? Oh,
Pablo Fornals.
Pablo. I'm not going to use his name from another channel. No, I am. I'm going to coin Gonzo. I am going to coin El Fornicador, the fornicator. What are your opinions?
That isn't actually the Spanish for the fornicator. I checked it out. That isn't actually the Spanish for the fornicator, but we'll go with it.
We like it.
I'm not. Listen, I'm not going to argue with Gonzo. No chance.
No. He's one of my heroes. he's a YouTube hero of mine.
Yep. You and me both. So
go on then, tell me.
Pablo,
tell me about the man.
You know, he had the under-21s championships in 2019, where he was one of Spain's top players when they won it. I remember
personally, I think he was the best player in the championship. I watched a lot of it,
he was,
and he was outstanding. And I'll be honest, I watched him because of him. I watched them because of him, and I wanted to see what we were getting. By hands down, I think he was one of the, if not the best performer in that Spanish side. Yeah.
I mean, we signed him on a 5-year deal from Villarreal, 24 million quid. I know there's some fans that are not too in love with him. But I think, you know, the guy, he's doing the job he's being asked to do by David Moyes. Now, for me, he's a number 10. All day long and twice on a Sunday. He's a number 10. That's his best position. That's where I think we will see the best out of him. However, he's being played in the main as a left midfielder, just in front of Cresswell. The protection that he is giving Cresswell this season, the fact is not lost on me that Cresswell's form has increased. And I believe a big part of that, not entirely, but a big part of that is down to Pablo Fornals, because last season, the season before, when a lot of people were looking at Cress and saying his legs have gone, you know, we need to ship him out, blah, blah, blah. He had Felipe Anderson in front of him. Felipe Anderson, with the best will in the world, is not going to offer the fullback. If he's playing on the wing, he's not going to offer the fullback any protection, or very, very little. So he's come in, and I think possibly we're not seeing the best of him, but he's sacrificing himself, and we're getting the best out of Aaron Cresswell.
Yeah, without a doubt. Yeah.
You know, but, you know, I mean, he signed a 5-year deal when he come in 2019. So that deal will take him up to the summer of 2024. I mean, he's only 25 years of age. He turned 25 last month. So this is a guy that we should absolutely be keeping for the long term. I mean, he came out, what was it, last week, and said, you know, he's a Spanish Cockney or whatever it was. I mean, the guy has bought into the club. He's bought into the fan base. You know, and why wouldn't you want to keep this guy? I mean, he's got all the talent in the world for me, and he's aligned that with a work rate and an endeavour. You know, we love seeing players with a bit of skill, and we also enjoy seeing players with a high work rate. Now, sometimes we get a player that will have the skills and not the work rate. Sometimes we'll have players that have the work rate and not the skills. Now, this guy's got them both. What is there not to love?
Yeah.
Keep, you know,
Yeah.
all day long and twice on a Sunday. Keep him 3 years plus. So I'd sign him up. I'd extend his deal right now. I really would.
Yeah, listen, I don't think I can disagree with you. I mean, you've nailed absolutely every feature of the guy. He came in as one of the most, like I say, if not the most creative player in that Spanish squad from the Euros, the under 21 Euros. He was an outstanding player. But we're not just seeing. Well, to be fair, I don't think we're seeing that side of his game. What we're seeing is the grit, the determination, the donkey work, the dirty work. He's getting stuck in. You said it yourself. For me, in agreement with you there. He has extended Cresswell's career, if you will, by putting him in front of him. Whereas, no disrespect to a gentleman that we're going to no doubt talk about. I can't see him on the screen, so I can only assume he's in the bottom where he belongs. You know, he didn't defend as well with Cresswell. We can see that in his first game, I think, for the club against Liverpool away. Got spanked 4-0, if I remember rightly.
Yeah.
I gave up my place at the side of the pool on an all-inclusive resort in Turkey with my feet up by the side of the pool with a load of beer to go back to the hotel room. Chuck on the Turkish television.
I was in Turkey around that time as well. Actually, I was in Turkey about a week or two later. I was in Turkey when we played Arsenal away.
Yeah, it didn't get any better, did it? Let's be fair. I mean, for me, 4 hours just come in. I'm just having a quick look, and it's not loading. But I kind of wanted to use it as a bit of a beating stick to the Ben Rahman haters, but the 4 hours lovers, if you understand my meaning. So, 24 games for 4 hours he's been involved in so far this season.
Yep.
2 goals, 3 assists.
And not only that, I mean, he's the one criticism I would level at him is that he's had quite a few chances where he probably should have at the very least worked the goalkeeper. And maybe he's put it slightly wide, slightly over the bar, hit the woodwork, whatever. The one thing I think he does need to work on is his finishing. But other than that, I think he's got everything. I really do.
Well, I can give you a breakdown of his stats there. So he's been in the match day squad 27 times so far this season in the Premier League. I believe it is just Premier League. Yeah, 27 times. Once he wasn't in the squad, which was against United. At the weekend. Obviously, he was injured. So he's been in the squad 27 times. He started 22.
Yep.
He's been brought on twice. He was on the bench 3 times, and obviously the others. His average playing time, without trying to work it out, but he spends a lot longer on the pitch than Syed Ben Rahman, just by going through these. The earliest he's actually been subbed off in a game. Looking at this is the 67th minute. No, he was taken off against Palace. 46th minute. Is that off or on? No, taken off in the 46th minute. So he was taken off at half time against Palace back in December.
Okay. Was that the game?
Every other game.
Stadium?
Yeah.
That was, yeah.
Every other game is a minimum of an hour.
Yeah.
You know, he came on against West Brom after 28 minutes, after 62 minutes. So he got half an hour there, give or take. Played 73 there, 90 minutes, you know, played 45 minutes against Palace. So for the most part, he's playing well over an hour for, I'd say, near enough every single game that he's actually played so far. So if you're going to throw the arguments down at the feet of Ben Rahman for only 4 assists in 20 games, if you've got a guy here who's been in the starting 11 22 times, whereas Ben Rahman's only been in the lineup 12, did we say?
Yes.
For all competitions, 12.
In all competitions, it's 12, but in the Premier League,
in the
10.
Premier League, it's 10. So he's had 10 starting appearances and 10 substitute appearances, and those substitute appearances haven't been great deals, but has 4 assists. You've got someone like Fornals, who's actually started 22 times in the Premier League, gets at least 60 to 70 minutes under his belt when he starts, minimum when he starts, and only has 2 goals and those 3 assists. Where are we going for? Are we allowing Fornals to get away with this because of his defensive duties and the way that he's,
possibly
scrapping in there? But he's a number 10, as you've just said, and although he's been deployed across that midfield attacking midfield 3, I'd still want to see more personally. For a number 10, for that kind of attacking style player that we know he is.
But again, he's only going to do the job. He's only going to do the job that David Moyes has detailed him to do. So if David Moyes says you're playing on the left of an offensive midfield 3, that's where he's going to play. He'll give it to the best of his ability.
Frustrating, and you know what? I have no doubt that he will.
Yeah, as I say, I think he's sacrificing himself for the betterment of the team and specifically for Aaron Cresswell. And as I say, it's not lost on me that Aaron Cresswell is in the form of his life again. So,
and listen, I don't mind that because I'm a big Cresswell fan, and I have been for a number of years. I actually do. I do rate Cresswell. I actually thought last season he was finished. I'm so glad to see that he's not, and I'm so glad to see him back at the top of the the points total for the fantasy league, because he's actually, the assists that the guy's got alongside the clean sheets is something else. Right, next up, I can see who's next.
Yeah, Jesse Lingard. I mean, this is a guy, when he came in, before he'd even kicked a ball for us, I think it was with Gonzo, and I was asked what I thought about the signing, and I used the words, it's a potential masterstroke. I think I can now bin the word potential. It was a masterstroke. He turned 28 in December. This is a guy who has 24 caps for his country. He's also represented England at under 21s and under 17s level. He's played in European competitions. He's actually won the Europa League. He's won the League Cup. He's also scored the winning goal in the 2016 FA Cup final against Crystal Palace. He's been to a World Cup. And he's only played 266 career matches, which for a guy of 28 is not really that much in relative terms. Now, I think he has got plenty left in the tank. Plenty. I think he could go on, injuries aside, God forbid, hopefully that doesn't come to pass. But I think he could go until he's in his mid-30s easily. Very intelligent player. He can find the little pockets of space. He can use the ball anywhere on the pitch, whether he's utilised on the left, whether he's utilised on the right, through the middle, as a false 9. David Moyes loves players with a bit of versatility, and players that, are not just pigeonholed in specific role, especially attacking players. He'll like a player that can play as a number 10 or play wide or play as a central striker or maybe drop a bit deeper. Jesse Lingard can do it all. And do it to a good standard. I mean, what's he got? I mean, has he got like 4 goals? Yeah, six appearances, 4 goals in the Premier League. That is phenomenal for a guy that's not even playing as a striker, as a number 9.
And
if that was a number 9, you'd be like, wow. But he's playing as a sort of like an attacking midfielder or a wide midfielder. I mean, that is absolutely ridiculous stats. And the talk that when he first came through, excuse me, the word was that Manchester United would probably accept 10, 12, 15 million in the summer. I'm now hearing it's 20 million. Now, I appreciate, the jump from 10 million to 20 million, you're doubling it, the asking price. But ask yourself this: can
I'd
you
still
get
take him
a
at the drop of a hat, mate.
28-year-old? Yeah, can you get a 28-year-old who probably, in terms of his games that he's put out, is probably really a 25-year-old, if you see what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, who has won a European competition for his club, who has scored the winning goal in an FA Cup final for his club, who has been to a World Cup, who has scored in a World Cup, and still, in my opinion, has plenty more to give, and probably hasn't even hit his peak yet. And you're going to get him for 20 million quid? No brainer. No
Yeah,
brainer.
listen.
Get the boy signed.
Yeah, listen. We've had this discussion before. You've heard me mention it. I don't want to wait until the transfer window opens. Let's get the deal
No,
done now. It doesn't make sense to
absolutely.
me to be
Absolutely.
dicking around and waiting. All right.
I think you can see the next one, can't you?
Declan Rice.
Oh, mate.
What's not to be said about
Well,
Declan? God, it'll probably be
there's not
quicker to
there's not
list
many
his faults.
there's not many players that play for two international teams, but he's done it. Obviously, he got 3 caps for the Republic of Ireland. He's got 13 since for England, because obviously the 3 caps he got for the Republic were all in friendly, so it allowed him to
Yeah.
transfer over. And me as an Englishman, I am half Irish, but I was born and brought up in England, so as an Englishman, I'm glad that he made that move, and obviously for his career, let's be completely honest, and most of the Irish side of my family sort of even readily say this, that Declan Rice probably had to go and make the jump to England, because obviously he's got more of a chance at representing his country at World Cups, at European
Yeah.
Championships, with the greatest of respect that the Republic of Ireland probably do, and they've got more of a chance of getting deeper into the tournament. Here's a guy that, I mean, just looking here at the stats, he's got 140 career appearances and 4 goals. That's probably the only thing that I think he probably needs to improve, is his goals scored ratio. I'm hoping that obviously now he's our penalty taker, that might start to climb a little bit. But there's very,
He
very
still
few
scares
teams.
me on penalties.
Oh, yeah. Well, I don't know. I thought that last one was in the bottom corner. He knew where he was putting that. But listen, I mean, he's 22 years of age. He's the team captain, not the club captain. He's the team captain when Mark Noble doesn't
For at
play.
least another year anyway, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we've discussed it. I mean, my feelings on it. I don't think there are more than probably 3 teams in world football right now that he doesn't walk into and improve. I think if you put Declan Rice into the Liverpool team this season, he would improve that, and they're the Premier League champions. He would even improve them. You could argue maybe Man City. You could argue maybe Bayern Munich. Possibly maybe another club at best. But realistically, there's not many teams that he would not improve. I think, and he's 22, so he's not even hit his peak yet. All
Exactly
things
what I was
being
saying
equal,
earlier, yeah.
this is a guy that could play as a centre back. He can play as a defensive mid. I actually think he can play as an orthodox central midfielder quite happily, no problem at all. I mean, his interceptions, his recoveries, he's just ridiculous. I'm really glad that we managed to get him as a youth player from Chelsea, because for me, he's been absolutely astonishing, seriously astonishing. And I hope that we can keep him. I know obviously there's always talk about him moving on to bigger and better things, but my thoughts on it, and I've said it. I think we need to sign him on a long-term contract, and I'm talking like on the level
Yeah.
that we did with Andy Carroll, like we did with Winston Reid, where it needs to be a 6-year contract, something really, where
Long
we're
term.
saying he is here
Yeah.
for the long term, and
If you want him, you're going to have to dig deep.
and we need to make it so that and I've always believed this, that for me, your highest paid player should always be your club captain, because that's your that's your sort of like that's your main man. So that has to
Yeah.
be your highest paid player. So for me, I would make him the highest paid player at the club. And if someone comes in on wages of whatever, then his wages have to get bumped up to at least that level. And that's the way
Yeah.
it should always be. And as I say, what I'm about to say is quite controversial, but I would only do it with the approval of the Bobby Moore family. I would ask them if they would have a problem with unretiring the number 6 and giving it to him as a mark of what the club think of Declan Rice. Now, obviously, if the Moore family weren't happy with it, I'd say, okay, fine, no problem. The number 6 shirt stays retired. But if they were happy, I would unretire it for Declan Rice and only for Declan Rice. So when Declan Rice is done with that number 6 shirt, it goes back into retirement.
Yeah, I see. Listen, there's nothing you're saying there that I don't agree with. I wowed halfway through what you were saying because I don't know which other players in our squad have managed this. And as we go through, I'm bringing their stats up as we're talking about them. Declan Rice has not been substituted at all this season in the Premier League.
He last season in the Premier League, he didn't miss a minute.
You know, and that's exactly the same again this season.
Yeah,
he has played 90 minutes in every single game. 28 games so far this season. He has performed 90 minutes. And for me, the game against United on Sunday was his worst performance of the season, in my opinion. But when you look at comparably to everyone else, when you look at comparably to everyone else, he was still heads and shoulders above everyone else in the game in a West Ham shirt, but that was still his worst game so far this season.
Yeah. But
so
not because he was poor, but because
because everyone else around him was just and they were being overrun, to say the least.
Yeah.
Right, up next, I'll let you nickname him. I'll let you give us his nickname, but he's
the Potato Salad King.
The Potato Salad King.
Listen,
Declan Rice's partner in crime.
Yeah, and he's only missed 1 minute of this season, and that was only because Mike Dean and Lee Mason ganged up on him at Craven Cottage. I mean, what can you say about this fella? I mean, he scored 3 goals after Project Restart that were instrumental in trying to get us some positive momentum to get us away from the drop zone. He's carried that on this season. He's got 8 goals in the Premier League this season. He's got 11 goals in just over a calendar year for a deep-lying midfielder. This is a guy that we brought in from Slavia Prague. Again, he's got Champions League experience. And Barcelona are reputed to want to give us 26 million in the summer. I mean, it's an absolute joke. That figure needs to be doubled. Barcelona, if you're watching this, which is highly unlikely, but if you are, okay, that figure needs to be doubled before we could even enter into any sort of serious discussion, because he's a deep-lying midfielder. He scored 11 goals in a calendar year. Sort yourself out,
if I can just state on that, how much have they offered for him? 26.
26
they were toying. They haven't offered, but they were toying, weren't they?
Yeah.
The transfer market website, transfermarket.co.uk, actually have him down, and I'm looking at it here. There you go. I don't know if you're going to be able to see that.
Yeah.
£27 million.
Yeah, that's nonsense.
Is what they quote him as. Now we got him, like I say, we got him from Slavia. He was on loan with us, wasn't he, for a season?
Yeah.
He's something else, mate. Honestly, you said it yourself there. He's something else.
Well, the game against Tottenham, he got his head smashed open. Now, I've said it before. He could have quite easily done what a Mo Salah, a Jack Grealish, these sort of players would do, and with some justification, I might add. To grab his head, to go to the ground like a sack of potatoes, roll around, scream, thrash around, and just do all the histrionics so that the referee blows his whistle, gives the free kick, stops the play, whatever. Did he? No. His first instinct was to get up and defend the second ball, despite the fact there was claret going everywhere.
It literally was. everywhere, wasn't it?
The guys,
He was,
and I've said it. I sort of turned around. I made a joke, but I turned around and said, I think that he's like a T-800 Terminator that's been sent back in time, to save us. The guy's brilliant, absolutely
well, rumour
brilliant, and
has
he
it he's
allows
being
Declan
sued.
Rice to play. He allows Declan Rice to have little forays up the pitch, and then Declan Rice will then, cover him when he goes on his little forays up the pitch. I mean, they work in tandem beautifully together.
Oh, they're possibly the two. The partnership they've created is one of the best partnerships I think we've seen at the club for a good number of generations. There are rumours that he's being sued for assault by the Post from the other day. The Post has gone to no win, no fee because of the assault that it was on the receiving end of when he went crashing into it the other day. But the fact that he hit the post. Which obviously triggered clips. He hit the post, but he got back up again. Like, I would have been there for 25 minutes, holding my side and failing to breathe. He lay there. You could see it hurt him, but he was like, "All right, up again. Let's go again." There was nothing more to it. He's something else. Honestly, we like our triers at the club. We always have done. It doesn't matter if you're the most technically gifted or, not being funny, Julian Dix wasn't the most technically gifted when he arrived at Upton Park, from Birmingham. But he was a doer and a trier, and he was a tough tackler. And he showed what it meant to put on that shirt every day of the week, or every game, sorry. He showed us that he had the same amount of passion putting that shirt on as what we did if we would have played. And, Souček is the same. He goes out there, he gives 120% every single game. You said it yourself, he allows Declan Rice to go and do what Rice wants to do. Declan Rice then allows Thomas Souček to go and do what he wants to do at times. It just works, doesn't it? Honestly, if you split them up, it'd be a travesty. So if Barcelona do want Souček, they're going to have to spend about £235 million on the pair of them. They can have them both and we'll then rebuild. I think that you can't split them up. They're like twins. You can't split them up. It's not right. They need to stay together. So that's your long-term future. So in your long-term future, you've got Ben Rahman, Bowen, Soufal, Lanzini, Lingard, Rice.
Lanzini?
Lingard, Rice, and
You missed out Fornals.
That's what I meant for now. Yeah. They're similar facial structure in this small little screen that I'm looking at. And obviously Thomas Souček. Obviously, they're all of an age where you can actually build a squad around those.
Definitely.
And you should be building a squad around those.
Which is precisely why they're where they are.
Yeah. They're the sort of players that you need to be when you're looking to bring in a set of players now. If we want to progress and we want to keep the likes of those, what is there, 7 up there? We want to keep those 7 players.
Yeah.
And we're going to look to progress. The next lot of players that you bring in need to be of that standard or higher for you to continue. And that's no disrespect to the guys that are in the next two categories that we're going to cover. Yep. But as you put them in the 1 to 2 seasons, they're the ones you're going to be phasing out in the next 18 to 24 months. They're the ones that are going to be going. They're the ones in the next category under those are going to want to step into their shoes. But again, anything you're going to be bringing in needs to be challenging those top 7 for their positions. Otherwise, we're not going to move forward. So down to 1 or 2 seasons, there's a few familiar faces in this one. There's one not so familiar face at the very end. But we'll cover him as we get there. So, next man, Fabian Balbuena. He obviously, we're still unsure with him. He's made it clear he would like to leave, I believe.
If you believe the agent, I think he's leaving West Ham, but he's staying in Europe by all accounts. But if I was David Moyes, I would be trying to get him to stay at least for next season's European campaign, fingers crossed. I think if I would probably be looking to sign him on a 3-year deal and sell him whilst he still has a year or 2 of that deal left to run. So at least keeping him for next season as a minimum. Okay.
Yeah, see what
And
you
then
mean. Yeah, with you.
then sent him on for a few bob afterwards because he came in. It's down as an undisclosed fee. I don't exactly know how much was actually shelled out for him, but probably not that much. But I mean, he came to us from Corinthians. He's had a bit of an up and down, time. I think it's fair to say. I mean, I
Yeah,
remember the first season he came in, he looked decent. He has obviously got the nickname the General, and you could kind of see why. Then the second season, not so much. And I remember the game at home in the cup against West Brom when Slav was the manager of West Brom, and I said it on a previous video, and my daughter plays under 13s football at a good standard. But she's an under 13 girl. I don't think she could have played as bad as he did in that game. And I'm
in
really
that
not.
game. Yeah,
He was awful, absolutely shockingly bad for a guy that's plays for the Paraguay national team. I believe he's their captain. I think, but he's an international of some standing for sure. He was awful that day, and I think from that point onwards, you kind of looked and thought Moyes doesn't trust him, and the fact that he was on the bench more often than not kind of gave the game away that was the case. But then obviously he got his opportunity when I think it was Diop got COVID, if I remember correctly, when David Moyes also got diagnosed with COVID. And then
second or third game of the Premier League season, he
I
stepped in
think it
against
was
Wolves.
the Wolves game. Yeah, he
It
came
was.
in
Yeah.
and he started to establish himself, and you looked at him and thought, okay, this is the rebirth of Fabian Balbuena in a claret and blue shirt. Now, obviously, he's then dropped out of the team and he's been replaced by Craig Dawson, and he's in the form of his life, and then Balbuena can't get back in. And obviously his contract's coming to an end this season. And it seems, like I say, according to his agent, he's not staying at West Ham. He's probably going to stay in Europe, but he's probably not going to be going. But as I say, if it was me in David Moyes' shoes, I think I'd be trying to convince him to sign some sort of extension to sort of like at least be involved in next season's European campaign. And as I say, maybe a 2-3 year deal with sort of like really the thought that, okay, but he's not going to stay here for the entirety. We're probably going to try and sell him on at the end of next season, possibly the season after, whilst he's still under a contract and whilst we can still get a couple of quid for him.
I mean, yeah, just looking at this, he's not been involved he hasn't played a minute of the last 13 Premier League games. He's been on the bench for 10 of those.
Yep.
For 3 of those, two he was out with injuries, but he wasn't involved in the squad against Southampton. So he hasn't actually played a minute of Premier League football since just after Christmas in December 27th against Brighton. He actually played 90 minutes against Brighton. Wasn't great, but neither was the team that were out there. So you can't blame the guy. He's not been involved in a Premier League game, i.e., kicking the ball for 13 matches. If I was in his shoes, I'd be slightly pissed as well. To be fair, you're there to play football. You're there to want to play football. I'm not quite sure if he's been playing any games for the under 23s. But again, this is the problem with not having like what you call a B team, is the fact that your players like Fabian Balbuena, who are not getting the minutes on the pitch, or a reserve team, shall we say, they're not getting the minutes on the pitch for your first team squad. At least he'd still be able to be getting games, for what was your reserve. Now they're calling it the developmental and under 23 squads. You can only have a certain amount of players that are of a certain age in that squad, and obviously Fab feels he's better than that. And if he does leave, thank you for your service. Take care, and good luck to you for the rest of your career. But he's 29. He should be playing in. It's not that he shouldn't have had a minute of football in the last 13 games. He's 29 years old. He should be playing. But to be fair, if he thinks he's going to go off elsewhere, in one of the top 5 leagues in the world, if you will, in Europe, if he feels he's going to go off there and he's going to find a team that's going to be, pushing for Europe every season, that he's going to be playing in a squad fighting for the title, or even playing in Europe, I think he's going to have a short, sharp shot, because obviously if he's not playing for us in the sort of season we're having, I don't see him going off and commanding a place in a
Maybe
side
not.
that are currently playing in the Champions League or anything, unless it's with, and again, no disrespect to these clubs from these countries, but when you're looking at somewhere like possibly Switzerland or Austria, like Red Bull Salzburg, that sort of side. I'm not currently up to date with what I know. They at one point they did have Upakamenko or whatever his bloody name was. I know he was there at some point. So, he's going to have a hard time. If he's not walking into our side, you look at the regular top 6, top 8 of the Premier League, would he walk into theirs? Probably not.
Yeah.
So,
I think sliding doors moment for you, Duke. Now, here's one.
Yeah.
Because he was going to come on in the Cup at Old Trafford.
He was,
when Ogbonna got injured. The problem was, I believe he felt, I don't know if it was his calf or his hamstring, as he was warming up. So that was the reason why David Moyes turned to Issa Diop, who then obviously himself got concussed and brought off. But that was a little bit of a sliding doors moment, because had he come on, it may have been, and we'll never know, it may have been, that could have been his opportunity. And he may have, at this moment in time, been in the first team alongside
with
Craig
Dawson
instead of Diop. And it may be that might have then given the opportunity, the confidence for him to think, okay, I'm back in, I'm a part of the team, I'm going to put pen to paper. But we'll never know. I personally
don't think he's a bad player. I don't think he's a bad player, Rob. I think
absolutely.
I think he's okay, but if he's not, like I say, if he's not commanding a starting berth for us, whilst we're currently in that top 6 position, I think he'd also struggle elsewhere. It's an attitude thing.
The only thing is, though, Duke, playing devil's advocate, is the reason he's not getting in ahead of Diop, because he's not going to get in ahead of Dawson, but is the reason he's not getting in ahead of Diop is because of the fact that Moyes knows that he's going to be off in the summer. So therefore, what's the point in playing a player who long-term isn't going to be with you? You might as well give the minutes to the players that will be with you into next season, which I suspect Diop will probably come into that category.
Which more than likely, yeah. I mean, you say that seems to be the norm across the board at the minute. If my memory serves me rightly, Josh King at Bournemouth before his transfer debacle between us and Everton was doing exactly the same thing, wasn't it? He was refusing to sign a new contract, so Bournemouth refused to play him. Longstaff, Sean Longstaff at Newcastle. Sean Longstaff, the same thing at Newcastle. He's another player that's, he's a good player, but again, he's refusing to sign a new contract. Therefore, they're refusing to, as such, put him in the shop window, which is their prerogative, and I'm not saying it's not. So in that side of things, agreeing with what you're saying, the same thing with Moisey. He doesn't really want to go and put the guy in the shop window, and playing him for us. So I get it. It's understandable. Right, on to the next one. The big man himself, Mark Henry.
Michail Antonio. I mean, what can you say about this guy that hasn't already been said? I mean, he's been with the club, 6 years now, I think it is, 5-6 years, because he came in this last season at the Bowling Ground. So, 2015. So he's in his 6th year. He's played right back, he's played right wing back, he's played right wing, left wing, and now striker. And wherever he's played, he's always given his heart and soul to the football club. Love the guy, and I hope that he goes on to become our all-time leading Premier League goal scorer. I think he will. You look at his career path.
How many does he need this season? If he does it this season, how many more does he need?
I don't know if it's 5.
Yeah, Noble only needs one, doesn't he?
We're in single figures, let's put it that way.
Yeah. You
look at his career path, it's really unorthodox. I mean, his youth career was at Tooting and Mitcham. He comes through, he makes his senior debut for Tooting and Mitcham. He goes to Reading. He goes back on loan to Tooting and Mitcham. He goes on loan to Cheltenham, on loan to Southampton, on loan to Colchester, on loan to Sheffield Wednesday. He's then signed by Sheffield Wednesday. He's then signed by Nottingham Forest. And then we pick him up. I mean, his time with us has been an absolute success. And
I was in Spain when we signed him on the transfer deadline day. I remember sitting in a bar watching it, and I was like,
£7 million. And I've got to be honest, I'd never heard of him I'll be
No,
honest,
I hadn't. Yeah,
I'd never heard of him. I was like, who? But
yeah.
incredible. I mean, he I was there when he scored his first goal, which was Southampton, looping sort of ball over the goalkeeper, which I think was Martin Stekelenburg. And yeah, I mean, he's just an absolute monster. He's a bulldozer. But the only reason why I've put him where he is, I think, well, not the only reason. There's two reasons. The obvious one is his age. He's 30 years of age as we speak. He turns 31 next. In fact, he turns 31 later this month. So
Right.
he's
Yeah,
not he's
it
not
does.
far off of turning 31. And there's the obvious thing of his hamstrings that seem to go at fairly regular intervals. If he didn't have that injury question mark over him, and if he was 2-3 years younger, he would be one rung up the ladder. But again, I'm saying 1 or 2 seasons. All these guys, generally, a lot of these guys you'll see, there's a common theme. A lot of them are sort of 30 and beyond. Because I know that when a player hits 30, their performances can start to tail off, but it depends on a number of things as to how quickly and how short a period of time or long
Yeah,
it tapers off. Now, some players, from 30 to 32, their performances drop quite significantly. Some players, it's over a much longer period of time. Sometimes it's sort of like they can play to a good standard of Premier League football, 35, 36. But I would always keep a player of 30 years or beyond in this category and just monitor
yeah,
it on a season by season basis. So it could be that you've got a player like, say, Michail Antonio or any of the others that are in this category now and may still be in this category 2-3 years down the line. So it
yeah,
just goes on a rolling basis, because I personally don't. I think you have to keep an eye on it when they get to that sort of age, but especially so with a guy that has sort of like, well, hamstrings that are
jelly
made of peanut
hamstrings.
brittle.
Yeah.
So, but
I
love the
mean,
guy. Hope he becomes our all-time Premier League goal scorer. But as I say, I think all things considered, it would probably be sensible to put him in this category.
he has 43 goals for the club so far, and I
He
think
does.
our total is 40. Is it 48?
48. What put Paolo Di Canio? I think it's 48,
Hello.
49, something like that. Yeah.
I know Noble only has to get one. I think
Yeah.
Noble's is one more to draw level with Paolo, I
Yeah.
think. And then he needs 2 to obviously he'll become he'll be the top scorer from there. But I think you'll probably see that Antonio will get there first.
Yeah.
Obviously, unless we get a couple of penalties that we haven't had all season when Noble's been on the pitch. And
Yeah.
hopefully, without no disrespect to Noble, I'm hoping those penalties for Nobes come in the last 10 minutes of the game and not in the first 2 minutes of the game, because hopefully he won't be on the bloody pitch. No disrespect. So yeah, Antonio he's a big lump. He's had his fair share of injuries over his career with us,
Yeah.
like you say. But he's been involved in 66 goals in 152 Premier League appearances. So, it's not a piss poor return. But you've also got to bear in mind that not all of those games were as a striker. He was a right wing back, like we
Yeah.
said. He played right back against Chelsea and was vilified. He's played as a winger in several games, but I think this is his best position that he's played.
Yeah.
Proof in the pudding was the 4 against Norwich at the end of last season. Absolutely amazing performance that was. I thought he was absolutely outstanding. Right, next up then, a man that I like to call Aaron Crosswell. Get it? That's
Very
superb,
good. Very
isn't it?
good.
Mr. Crosswell.
Well, I think again, I've said this. He's this season's Cinderella man. I mean, last season be there was a lot of people that thought his race in claret and blue was run. He's lost a yard of pace and this, that, and the other. And yet this season, the last time I checked, and I haven't checked it since this weekend set of fixtures, but I know before last weekend's set of fixtures, he was the top points scoring defender on the Fantasy Premier League website.
Was indeed.
He was 5 points ahead of the guy in second place, who was Ruben Dias of Manchester City. Now, he has been a revelation this season. He's back to his career's been reinvigorated, and as I said it earlier, I think a large part of the credit for that has to go not just to David Moyes for maybe slightly tweaking things and helping him out, but also to Pablo Fornals. I mean, the protection he's given him has allowed him to get forward a little bit more readily than was possibly he was able to do with Felipe Anderson, because obviously if he moved forwards, it left a hole where he'd have been, and it needed Anderson to cover him so that when the move broke down, he could sort of step in and sort of like offer that protection down the sort of like the left flank, which he never really did. Now you've got Pablo Fornals that can sort of like drop in and allows Cresswell to sort of get forward down the left flank and get balls in and cause a little bit of chaos. Also, Declan Rice, I think an awful lot of the time he seems to shift across to the left and just sort of give a little bit of license to Cresswell to get forward. But even sort of like when he plays as a centre back in a back three, back five, I think that that also helped to sort of restore his confidence a little bit, because I think I noticed that when we went to that back three, back five formation, he's now playing as a centre back, and it allowed him sort of like the two partners sort of like to his right to sort of cover him as well, and sort of Cresswell, I think he's 7 games off of making 250 career appearances for the club. I mean, he's been at the club for 7 years now. He's 31. That again is the only reason why I'm putting him where he is. It's certainly not in terms of his abilities, and certainly not in terms of what he's offered us this season, which has been absolutely fantastic. But again, because he's the wrong side of 30, this is just where I would put players by default and monitor them on a season by season basis. They're never going to be, I would never ever put a player that's the age of 30 and beyond in the top rung. And you'll notice that none of them are, they're all in their 20s. So all these guys here are never ever going to be in my long-term future. And even if they're here at the club, so in Cresswell's case, he's 31 now. If he goes till he's 35, 36, fantastic, but he's always going to stay right here for me, because as I say, I would monitor it on a season by season basis.
Yeah, well, that's going to drop off a cliff, do you? Just to give you a quick analysis of him. So 7 assists so far this season, and obviously he's played at centre back and at left back. He actually has more assists from centre back with 4 than he does from left back when he's performed. Obviously, I'd go as far to say all of his assists come from dead balls, be it free kicks or corners. I think there's very, very little there.
His set piece delivery this season's been outstanding.
Second to none, hasn't it, really?
I mean, we've scored more set piece goals than anyone, and I'd bet that he's been probably the guy taking the set piece in probably about 60-70% of the occasions.
He's one of only a few that don't.
I'll tell you something. I'll tell you,
to find the first man.
Yeah. I think it was it last season when he scored the free kick against Manchester United at London Stadium? Was it last season or the season before?
How good was that? I remember it well.
Funnily enough, I remember this because my kids remind me of this. He actually had a free kick 5-10 minutes before that. He had a free kick before that.
He did, yeah.
And he put it wide, put it over the bar, and I turned to my kids who was with me and I said, "Don't worry, that's just a rangefinder. Next one's going in the back of the net." And of course, the next one did. It was a free kick, bang, straight in past De Gea. His left foot's as sweet as a nut. I mean, I think his chances of representing his country are probably gone. I mean, he's got three caps, 3 more than you and me have got, but I've sort of said this, about other players, and one of about which we're about to discuss. If you'd have put Aaron Cresswell in a Liverpool top or a Manchester United top or any of the other perceived Sky Sports Big Six, and he put in the performance that he did, irrespective of the fact he's 31 years of age, would he get into the England squad? Well, I think he'd certainly have a better chance than representing West Ham. Doesn't that say it all?
Says everything you need to know, really.
Yeah.
Right, on to the next big man, VVD.
Craig Dawson. Well, the blue passport Black Beckenbauer, I believe he's been
I
coined.
believe that's what he
Yeah.
calls him. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, look, this was a guy that he'd been relegated twice in 3 seasons with West Brom and then with Watford. He represented Great Britain at the Olympics. People might forget that. 3 appearances. A lot of people were saying when he came in, what on earth are we doing? He's this, he's that, you know. And obviously
I was one of them, I'll be honest.
Yeah. And we got to obviously the Christmas New Year period, and he'd not set foot on the pitch for a minute. And you're really looking at it and thinking, well, what was the point of that? I mean, he's taking up a spot that for a loan player, because we can only have 2 domestic loans, and we haven't got a single minute out of this guy. What was the point? He then obviously got his opportunity when Balbuena dropped out of the team, and he hasn't looked back since. He's been brilliant. He's had 13 appearances, I believe, and 3. He's contributed 3 goals from centre back. And it's actually 15 in all competitions and 4 goals.
4 goals, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, look, I believe if he plays another 2 games in the Premier League, we're committed to signing him for 2.2 million. That's a snip. That is an absolute snip. The geezer's 30. He turns 31 in May, and centre backs.
May 6th, yeah.
Centre backs. Unless they've got maybe sort of like some poor injury record, which I don't believe he has. I mean, he's got 379 career appearances behind him, so that's not someone that sort of like is having injuries left, right, and centre. So he could go on till he's sort of 35 in theory, but again, he's the wrong side of 30, so he's never ever going to get in the long-term future category for me. But as I say, again, monitor it each season. If his performances are still at a good level, okay, we'll extend it another season. But he's been fantastic for us. I mean, if we can get him for 2.2 million, that's an absolute bargain.
Yeah, you can't say no to that, can you? Really, he's been something else. I've been really impressed with him. All right, moving swiftly on. Lukas Fabianski. So he's played 26 games so far this season. He's missed a couple, only the 2 through injury, Man City and Everton. He's kept 9 clean sheets so far this season, 26 appearances.
He's been brilliant this last 8-10 games. He's been. I mean, the game against Manchester United, he was our man of the match by a country mile. It wasn't the next best player wasn't even close to him. And if it wasn't for him, we'd have got well and truly rinsed in that game. It would have been probably 3, 4, 5-0. Who knows? Once all started flying in, then everybody gives up, and you just don't know. But he kept that scoreline respectable on the score sheet. You look at it and you think, oh yeah, that's not such a bad result for West Ham. But obviously the performance wasn't great. But I mean, he's played 91 career appearances in Claret and Blue. So he's unless he gets a real bad injury, he's going to go past the 100 mark. I just wish we could have got this guy when he left Arsenal now, which was in 2014. So we'd have got an extra 4 years out of him. Brilliant. I mean, he's been absolutely top draw for us. As I say, he's 35. He turns 36 next month. He's extended his contract by a year. The only thing that I'm hoping, and again, we've discussed this, I do hope that we don't just say, okay, well, we'll worry about getting a number 1 goalkeeper next season, or the summer of after the next season has concluded. Because I think if you've got an opportunity when the summer comes this season to bring in a goalkeeper that is better than Fabianski and is his long-term successor, I think you have to go with it. And, if West Brom go down, I think Sam Johnston is a fantastic shout to be his long-term successor. And I don't think the fact that we've signed him on an extra year should stop that signing from happening.
No.
So fingers crossed. But I mean, Fabianski, he had a little bit of a dip in form last season. He obviously had the injury and he didn't quite look the same I remember the game at Anfield where we was winning 2-1 against a team that was absolutely running away with the league, and we were 2-1 up, and it was two bad errors from Fabianski, which was the reason why we left with nothing. And I'm not digging the guy out, but it was, and he would know that, I'm fairly sure. But he's been an absolutely top draw for us. I mean, we paid £7 million for him, which for a goalkeeper, for me, I think the goalkeeper is the most important position on the pitch, bar none. And the reason
most money was spent on a goalkeeper in recent memory, I believe.
Yeah. But the reason why I say the goalkeeper is the most important position for me, it was kind of illustrated when he had that injury last season, and we had the Spanish clown that went in goal, Roberto.
Spanish Alan McKnight.
You know, you put a guy in that couldn't catch a cold, and unfortunately, what tends to happen is it doesn't matter how good the players are in front. If they're thinking this guy behind us is a liability, then the players in front are treading on eggshells. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So they're not going to be operating at their normal levels, because when you've got that apprehension in you, your game's not going to flow as it ordinarily would.
No.
You're not going to be playing, the way you normally would, because in the back of your mind, you're thinking, shit. You know what I mean? And that's what happened last season. You saw it. A lot of the players would, they didn't want to pass back to him even. It was, and it caused.
I didn't want them to pass back to him, to be honest.
So having a goalkeeper of a good standard, like I say, for me, it is the most important position on the park. I know some people might say, but if you can get a goal scorer that will get you 20, 25 goals, but if you've got a goalkeeper, it's the old saying, isn't it? It's strike forces will win you matches, but it's goalkeepers and defenses that will win you titles or cups or European qualification, because there's not many teams that will achieve things with a crap defense and a crap goalkeeper. So for me, we need to get a sort of like a long-term successor for Fab in this summer, not next.
Yes. Yeah, couldn't agree more. I put him in my toss him in the bin pile. The more I've heard people, wax lyrical about him, my opinion doesn't change. I'd still be, he'd actually be the not sure pile, if anything now. And that'd be more for the fact that if we could go out and get a goalkeeper, Areola, James Fever talks about Nick Pope and these other guys that we've mentioned, then Fabianski doesn't necessarily start for me. I'd like to think that he can possibly push them, but you know what? I understand if we don't go out and get one of those bigger signing goalkeepers, then he needs to be there. On to Flash.
Ryan Fredericks. Listen, the truth of it is he's not a right back because he can't defend. He's a right wing back. I know he did a job in the Villa game at right midfield where he was in front of Soufal and they were obviously doubling up on Grealish, and that actually worked quite well. I think the only reason I'd probably put him where I've put him is simply because if we're going to qualify for Europe next season, we need to have a bit of cover. And he's still relatively young. He's the right side of 30. He turns 29 in October this year. But the truth is that really he's a championship fullback. And, let's look at it, right? He had 5 years at Spurs. He didn't make a single appearance in the league, right? He was on loan at Brentford, Millwall, Middlesbrough. He then signed for Bristol City and Fulham. Now, he's basically spent his entire career in the second tier of English football. Because, as I say, although he had 4 seasons at Spurs, he never made an appearance in the league. He never made an appearance in the FA Cup or the League Cup. I believe his only appearances came probably in European competitions like the Europa League. He's been at League One and Championship level his entire career beyond that until the time he came to West Ham. And I think there's a reason for that. I think that's his level, if I'm being completely honest. I think he could probably do a job, like I say, maybe if you had someone on the left, like a Grealish, like a Rashford, that you wanted to maybe have a little bit more defensive solidity, then you could probably put him where you did against Villa in like a 4-2-3-1 and have him on the right of
Yeah.
three in front of Soufal.
Yes.
That would probably be his position. Or you could argue that as a right wing back, he's probably a better fit in that formation than Vlad. Because I think Vlad is an orthodox right back. I don't think
Yeah.
when he's a wing back, he doesn't quite look the same. He's decent, but he's not quite got the pace that I think a wing back needs to have. And that's where I think Ryan Fredericks might be able to fit in. But
Yeah.
really, if probably if I was a little bit more confident in a player that we're going to come to shortly, then I'd probably be putting Ryan Fredericks in the senior pile, if I'm being
Yeah.
honest. But because a guy that we're about to come to, some of his performances have maybe not been the best. And there are reasons for that. But that's probably the reason why I'm a little bit hesitant to actually chuck Ryan Fredericks in the senior pile. So maybe he gets a stay of execution because of issues elsewhere.
Well, then let's move on to the next guy, young lad, Ben Johnson.
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't think he's been helped by the fact that he's a right footer being played as a left back. A lot of his games have come when we've played teams like the Manchester Cities, the Manchester United. So games where we're going to have less of the ball, games where we're going to be doing more defending, and you're putting him on the left side. Now, I know there are some people that think that actually that is his best position. I don't happen to agree. I think that you should be, if you're a right footer fullback, you should be a right back. And if you're a left footer fullback, you're a left back. And that's it. I'm a little bit concerned that in the last few games I've seen him, as an outsider looking in, his confidence, I believe, might have been affected. If he'd have not put in the performances like against Manchester United and Manchester City specifically, but not exclusively, but they're the most recent examples. If his performances have been at a higher standard, then I think he'd have been in the long-term future category. And as I say, Ryan Fredericks would have probably been in the senior pile because I'd have probably had Soufal and Johnson as the two fullbacks. Yeah, and Fredericks' time would probably have been up. But because I'm not so sure, that's probably why I've kept Fredericks where he is, and I'm putting Johnson where he is, because I think the remainder of this season and next season for me is make or break time for him. And if at the end of next season he still hasn't really nailed down a place in the team, then I think it could be that he's going to slip down the pecking order and at best be in the not sure pile.
No, that's fair enough. Like we've said already, it's all our individual opinions. I personally think he's better out on the left, but again, that's it's each to their own. Right, moving on to the next man, who, from what I remember, on a tweet that went out not so long ago, is a gentleman that doesn't know how to say shed heads.
No.
So,
no. What do you do?
Arthur Masuaku.
Yes. Well, I think he's a left wing back. He's not a left back for me.
Yeah.
If you're going to have him as your secondary left back, you're in trouble. If he's playing as a wing back in a 3-5-2 or whatever you want to, however you want to set up, I think he's got a role. I actually think that if we're going to play that formation, he's actually key to it working. But if we're going to go 4-2-3-1, if we're going to go 4-3-3, 4-4-2, there isn't a place for him really.
No, not at all.
So, I mean, he's obviously got an injury at the minute. I don't know. The question mark is going to be, how is he going to be after he comes back? Because it's been quite a long injury layoff, and you're never quite sure, are they going to come back? It's not like a standard, it's a muscle injury, it's 4 to 6 weeks out. He's been out for a while with a knee injury.
I was going to say, this is necessarily a big one.
Yeah, well, don't forget, also, it came out that when he went under the knife, he'd apparently been in trouble with this knee for 2 years, which kind of begs the question to me, well, why didn't you get it done in one of the previous summers if it's been a 2-year issue? But anyway, listen, he come to us from Olympiacos, so, and he's got Champions League experience. So that's probably would be what would keep him at the club for next season as a minimum. Again, because we're possibly going to be involved in Europe, we're going to need a little bit of squad depth, maybe even a little bit of players that have played in European competition, and he's one of them. But I think long term, no. I think that probably next season is probably going to be maybe as much as we could expect out of him, depending upon what he produces next season. I'd probably be looking to sort of ship him on after that, if I'm being brutally honest.
A make or break season for him, really.
I just don't think he's good enough as a left back. Like I say, if he's Aaron Cresswell's understudy, then we're in a world of hurt.
Agreed. Right, now, I know you like to mix it up a bit, but we're unable to mix it up a bit this time around, and we can't really skip this guy in favour for the rest of them. So we're gonna give him a few minutes of time here, because obviously we've been going an hour and a half and we're not even halfway through this yet. And I know that Mr. Budden's one took nearly 2.5 or just under 2.5 hours.
Yeah, but they got a lot of views.
Yeah, it did. It flew, didn't it? Let's be honest. Talk to me about the gentleman that's coming up, Mr. West Ham himself.
Oh, what can you say? I mean, right, I should stress, guys, that this is purely, and I know not everybody has followed this particular mantra, but this is purely Mark Noble, the footballer, not Mark Noble, who could go on to become a coach at the club or a director of football at the club or the manager of the club. Okay, this is purely Mark Noble in a footballing capacity. Now, he has signed an extra year with the club. If I was David Moyes, I probably would like, if he hadn't have signed it, I would probably be trying to convince him to sign it, if for no other reason than to allow him the opportunity to say goodbye to the fans on the pitch and allow the fans to say goodbye to him on the pitch. I do kind of think that had we had a normal last 12 months, I think he definitely would have knocked it on the head at the end of this season.
Yeah.
There's a possibility he might have even knocked it on the head at the end of last, after we escaped relegation with 2 games to go. Or one game to go, really, but we effectively escaped it with the Watford result. 521 appearances in Claret and Blue in all competitions, with 60 goals in all competitions. Obviously, if you take out of the equation spells on loan to both Hull and Ipswich, he's a one-club man, which in the modern era is happening less and less. He's going to be in his 18th season next year. I mean, I don't understand how a guy that was the captain of the England under-21s never even at any point in his career got the courtesy of a call-up at any point. I'm not saying he was the best midfielder in the Premier League at any point. I'm not saying he was even the best midfielder that West Ham have ever produced, because neither statement would be fact. But I think that in the last season at the Bowen, he at least deserved the courtesy of a call-up, if not maybe a couple of minutes off the bench, something like that. I do think that he gets a lot of stick. I can understand why in some cases, especially of late, but then Mark Noble will never give anything less than everything that he's got in the Claret and Blue shirt. Now, at the age he is, 33 years of age, he's going to turn 34 in May. he's not got the legs that he had 10 years ago. You can't expect him to be buzzing around the pitch and flying around and doing what he did 10
No.
years ago. You know, he can't do it. I think his role for me, I think that the games that you start him in are very, very few and far between. Certainly in the Premier League. I think putting him out against Manchester United in a 3-man central mid was, well, hindsight is always perfect vision, but as soon as I saw the team sheet, I did think, ooh, that could be interesting. And yeah, he got so much stick in the wake of it, and it's like, yeah, okay, maybe he's not good enough anymore, but it's the manager that picked him. What's
I
Mark
say
Noble
it's not his
to do?
fault that he's in there, is he?
Yeah,
Is he going to turn around and tell him, I don't want to
no,
play, boss. I'm not good enough. Yeah.
he'll play if he was required to play, and he had one leg hanging off, he'd do it because the manager asked him to, because he loves the club that much. Mark Noble is the embodiment of every single West Ham fan on that pitch.
Yes, without a doubt.
Period. Okay.
Couldn't agree with you more, Rob.
And the players, the so-called supporters that disrespect him. Listen, I get that. Like I say, you look at him and you think, oh, he's past it, and this, that, and the other. But like I say, just show the guy a little bit of respect. I don't think that that's too much to ask for, you know. And that's all I've got to say on it.
I mean, I just quickly jump in. I did a video, didn't I, last week? Retire the 16 or name a stand, and I'm so very surprised at the amount of grief that I received across several West Ham Facebook groups. Because I dared suggest that someone who has been bang average over his entire career at West Ham, someone who has been bang average and if he was any good would have had other clubs knocking on the door for him. You know, he's only been at West Ham because he wasn't any good to make a move to a higher club, etc., etc. The amount of total
Neither
for
did
me.
Steven Gerrard.
No, exactly.
Steven Gerrard never did either. So
the amount of grief that I took for that, and the amount of what I'd consider lack of respect for a guy that has given up 18 years of his life. And don't get me wrong, yes, before I get the comments on here, pardon me, I had a hiccup, that he's been well compensated. Oh, dear God. Well compensated for his 18 years. You know, there were some that claimed that he'd stolen a living. Was one of my favourite ones that I read, and again, I'm not. I could go back and I could find it all on the phone and everything else, but I'm not going to. He has given us so much of his career to the club. I'm just going through a couple of bits here. He's given so much to his career to West Ham, so much of his life to West Ham. Because he's a fan first and foremost, and he's basically we've all lived our dreams essentially of playing for our boyhood club through him. Let's not mess around. That's exactly what we've gone and done. And because of that, you know, I said name a stand after him. You said, you know, the stand should probably go to someone like
Frank
Lampard, wasn't it? Yeah. So I mean, I can't wax lyrical enough about Nobes. I love Nobes. He's been a big part of a West Ham side that I've supported through my entire lifetime. You know, I've been a West Ham fan since 1980. 40 years, going on 41 years this year. You know, that I've supported this club nearly 42 years. He's been a part of that for nearly half. You know, just under half of that. So, got a lot of time for Nobes. I'd love to see him come back as possibly our manager at some point in his career, because he knows exactly what it means to us fans and what that badge means. Let's move on, because we could continue to talk about Nobes for quite a while, to be fair, and go back to his debut and everything else. But let's go on. So Angelo Ogbonna.
Listen, I mean, this guy has been arguably our best. Well, he's certainly been our best defender in the last year, 18 months, 2 years, that sort time frame.
Yeah.
Some people would argue he should have been Hammer of the Year last season, and I think Declan Rice was the better of the two, but it's paper thin, and I could completely understand if Angelo walked away with it, and I wouldn't have a problem with that. He turns 33 in May, though. Again, he's over the 30-year age bracket, which is a large part of the reason why he's in here. It's certainly not on ability. He's 16 games away from making 200 career appearances in Claret and Blue. He was
That's
schooled.
impressive.
Yeah, I mean, he's learned his trade in Italy, where they know a thing or two about defending. Let me tell you,
you're right.
He started his youth career at Torino. He had a loan spell at Crotone, and he was then at Juventus in a very successful team.
For a long
I
time,
believe,
wasn't he? If I remember rightly.
He was there for 2 years. He was there for 2
Oh,
years.
really?
But, I mean, again, yeah, 2013 to 2015 when we picked him up. But he was an unused substitute in the Champions League final, so he's got experience of being involved in the big European nights. Again, I'm thinking of next season when we hopefully going to be involved in Europe. His experience of what to expect will be absolutely critical. I love the guy. I think he's absolutely brilliant. And if he was a couple of years younger, like I say, he'd be in the tier above, but he isn't. So he's where he is.
I'm very, very surprised that he was only at Juve for 2 years. I'll be honest with you. That's lack of preparation on my part. I actually thought he was there for a good portion of his career. I didn't realise he'd actually been at us.
No, he actually
longer.
He was at Torino in his senior career for 7 years, and he had 4 years there as a youth.
Wow, I actually thought he spent was at Juve for a significant amount of time. Well, that's me embarrassed. So let's move on. That's me looking about so big right now. Let's move on. Young goalkeeper.
Nathan Trott, again, I think next season's make or break. I mean, he spent a period last season on loan at Wimbledon, 23 appearances in League One, 2 appearances in the FA Cup, 1 appearance in the EFL Trophy. So he had 26 appearances on loan. And he made his debut for us, obviously coming on as a substitute for Lukas against Doncaster in the FA Cup. Personally, I think he should have gone out on loan again in the summer and really test him. I would argue if we tested him at League One level, and he from what I understand, he did okay. He wasn't sensational.
Yeah.
He wasn't crap, but he did all right. He held his own. Now, I think he should have gone out in the summer because he's barely been involved on the bench in the squad sort of thing. So what benefit is he getting playing under 23s football? I think when you get to a certain stage in your career, and Nathan Trott, as we speak, is 22. He'll be 23 in November.
Yes.
I don't think that there's much more he can learn playing under 23s football. I think he could play another 100 games for the under 23s, and he wouldn't learn as much playing 20 games as he would playing 20 games either at League One or Championship standard football against battle-hardened, seasoned men that are going to be smashing into him and, causing him all sorts of problems.
For that.
He'll either sink or swim. And if he can swim, then maybe he can swim in the Premier League pool. So I do kind of think that next season could be make or break for Nathan. I think he's got potential, but it's whether he realizes that potential with us. And if he doesn't make it, again, he's at that critical point, a bit like Ben Johnson for me, where I think if he doesn't make the breakthrough next season, then he's probably going to drop down into, as a minimum, the not sure bracket and possibly maybe even into the senior pile.
With regards to him, before we move on to the next tier, would you, if we bring in another goalkeeper, okay, we bring in let's say we bring in Areola or a Nick Pope,
Yep.
And obviously then Fab becomes that number 2. Would you run the risk of sending Trot out again on loan, or sending him out on loan next season, and maybe using a Nang or one of the other guys out of the under-23 squads that you wouldn't think he's quite ready to go out on loan? Would you consider Trot going out on loan and bringing in a third number 3, or second number 3, if you will, because he would. You've got Fabianski there as well, be your number 2.
Well, this ties in kind of why I've got one of the goalkeepers in my not sure pile, because again, the reason why I've got Darren Randolph in my not sure pile is again because of it kind of depends upon what we do in the summer. I think we need to sign, like I say, I think we need to sign a number 1. I think Lukas Fabianski needs to be gradually phased out over the course of next season. And if we do that, then I think Darren Randolph drops out of the squad completely and Nathan Trott becomes the number 3. And then the following season, Nathan Trott possibly becomes the number 2 goalkeeper. But as I say, personally, I think he should have gone out this season. Yeah. And it may have been, if he could have really made a success of it at the Championship, maybe we could have looked at him and gone, actually, we might be able to save ourselves a few quid here. And maybe our next number 1's been under our nose the whole time. But until we give him that, until we test him, how do we know?
We know.
Just say, I'll tell you what, play a Premier League game and let's just see how it goes. If it goes well, great. But if it doesn't, well, now what's your exit strategy?
Yeah, that's the only concern, isn't it? Right. So, I myself will quite happily hold my hands up and this season plead ignorance for what you've got as our next 7 players, the next list of the tier.
I'll just rattle through them real quick because a lot of people probably don't know a lot of these players. So the first one is Aji Alesse. Now, Aji Alesse is on loan as we speak at Cambridge United, but yesterday, as we record this, he signed a new contract which takes him till the summer of 2023. He's a central defender. He's represented England at 16s, 17s, 18s, 19s, and 20s. So he's obviously got a lot of potential.
Pedigree's there, yeah.
I think that he's potentially a star of tomorrow, and that's why there's a question mark at the end of this, because you're never quite sure with youth players whether they're going to kick on or whether they're going to fall by the wayside. So these guys here, all of them could go one way or the other over the next season or 2. But I think he's got the potential to be a star of tomorrow. And obviously the club agree, because otherwise they wouldn't have given him a 2-year contract. So he goes there. Next player we move on to is Frederick Alves. Now, Frederick Alves we bought in the summer. From Silkeborg. I think we paid 1.2 million, if I remember correctly. All the reports I'm hearing from him is that he is absolutely ripping it up in the 23s. And there's a lot of good things that I'm hearing about him. I think that he is going to be the guy that ultimately will replace Balbuena. I think next season he will be basically the guy that replaces Balbuena. He is a Denmark under-20 and under-21 international. So again, a player with a bit of potential behind him. And I'm just looking here. His style of play is described as a defender who likes to play with the ball at his feet. He likes defending and is good at duels. He has drawn inspiration from Jerome Boateng. If he's anything like as good as him, he'll be decent.
It's not a bad thing.
And he can also operate at right fullback. So again, there's that versatility that we're talking about that David Moyes likes to have from his players, not just sort of pigeonhole them into one default position. The next player on the list is Harrison Ashby. Now, Harrison Ashby is the son of the former Gillingham and Watford defender, Barry Ashby. Now, he's a Scottish youth international. He's represented Scotland at 17s, 19s and 21s, although he was born in Milton Keynes. So he's not sort of, he doesn't talk with a Scottish accent, so to speak. It's down to his his Scottish grandparents on his mother's side, as to how he represents them. But he's 19 years of age. He's a right fullback by default. And again, this is a player. He's already made his debut. He's got 2 appearances in the League Cup for us. And yeah, I think again, this is a guy that could be. He could be the long-term heir apparent to Vladimir Soufal. And I think he's probably going to overtake Ben Johnson in that regard. But again, with all of these guys that are in this pile, it's with youth players, you're never quite sure, like I say, whether they're going to train on. Are they the next, Ashley Cole? Are they the next Wayne Rooney? Or are they going to be the next John Bostock? I mean, John Bostock, for the people that are watching, was a guy that a lot of people said was the next big thing. He was a guy at Crystal Palace. Spurs came in for him, and he disappeared. Just disappeared off the face of the earth. He never kicked on, and yet there was a lot of good things that were spoken about him. And there's so many youth players that, I mean, I go back a little way, and I know someone that knew Darren Caskey coming through at Lillishall, and he turned around and said at the time that he was the biggest talent that he'd seen up to that point.
Wow.
What did he do? He came through at Spurs, did nothing really. Or I wouldn't say
fair,
nothing, but I think he had a career, don't get me wrong, but it was a lot further down the pecking order.
Certainly wasn't what was expected.
Exactly. So, as I say, guys, with these stars of tomorrow, it could go one way or the other. The next guy we got there holding that trophy there is a young lad by the name of Jamal Baptiste. Now, Jamal Baptiste is a 17-year-old defender. He's represented England at 16s and 17s. He's already made his debut for West Ham. He came on as a substitute in the 4-0 win at home to Doncaster in the FA Cup. Again, this is a guy that a lot of good things have been said about him. He is by default a defender, but I think he also can operate. I think I remember Russ saying at defensive mid. So again, this is a guy that I think the club have got some very high hopes for. Still early days with him. The next guy, now, this is a guy that I will say here and now, I am concerned about, and I will explain why.
Yeah, I've heard you say this.
Conor Coventry. Yeah, Conor Coventry, a year or two ago, there was a lot of people making a lot of noise about this kid and saying he was the next big thing. He was the heir apparent to Mark Noble. Well, as we speak, he has not played anything in the league. He's not played anything in the FA Cup. He's got 3 appearances in 3 different seasons in the League Cup, and that's it in claret and blue. Now, he turns 21 in a week's time, 25th of March. I'm always concerned when you've got a player that is about to turn 21 and he's not made an appearance of any description in league football. I'm a little bit concerned. And I think that, again, next season is make or break for Coventry, in my opinion. If he doesn't make the breakthrough next season, by which time he turns 22 during the course of it, again, I've asked the question of a few. I was on a live stream with Gio on Hammers Chat yesterday, and I asked the question, is he the next Josh Cullen Mark II? And I'm a little bit concerned. I am a little bit concerned. So I think he's a star of tomorrow. Again, next season will be the make or break point, which might mean that he goes one way up or down this tier list. The next player on the list is a young man by the name of Manny Longello. I don't know what the pronunciation is. I'll openly admit. Now, again, this is a young lad, quite versatile. He can play left back, wing back, left wing. He's 20 years of age. And yeah, he's not made an appearance in anything as far as the league is concerned. He's made 1 appearance in claret and blue for the FA Cup, the League Cup, excuse me. He's of Congolese descent. His brother is at Newcastle United, last I heard. Again, I think this is a player that could have a bit of potential, and obviously the fact that he's quite versatile might be appealing to David Moyes. But again, he turns 21 in December, and again, I think next season will be, whether he's long-term for the squad or not. And the final player that's in the Star of Tomorrow bracket is a guy that a lot of people think should have been given a bit more of a run, especially when Mikel Antonio has had problems. He's a young Irish lad from Tallaght in Ireland by the name of Adamipo Odebeko. Now, he's represented Ireland, or the Republic of Ireland, excuse me, at under 16s and under 17s. He came to us from Manchester United, where he was the strike partner of a certain Mason Greenwood. The story goes that he rejected the chance to remain at Man United because he felt his chances of first-team football would be improved at West Ham. Well, so far that hasn't come to pass because
it's not quite work, does it?
Yeah, it hasn't come to pass. You're not quite sure how's that going to go. But I mean, he's still only 18 years of age. So he's got time on his side. I don't think next season's make or break so much. Maybe the season after, because obviously he's that little bit younger than some of the players that I'm saying a make or break, because they're like 20, going on 21. So he's still got time on his side. I think he's obviously got potential. But I think maybe he's a guy that also might be benefiting by sending him out on loan. Putting in the loan arrangement, so a 7-day recall clause. I always think that's quite sensible, because if you've got an injury crisis where you're sitting there and thinking, right, we need a striker, and he's out there playing in the Championship, say for a Birmingham City or something like that, or whatever, and he's doing relatively well, you can just turn around and say, okay, we need him back in 7 days. Bang, done. He's back, and then he can be playing for the first team in the Premier League.
And then you can do what he needs to do. Yeah.
So just rattling through this because we've got to get done fairly quickly, because we've
got another. Just about to bring that up to you. We've got another one.
So the two guys in the not sure pile. I mean, Issa Diop. I mean, he's in his 3rd season with us, and I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, well, even now, I mean, I know he's playing in the first team.
Hang on, Issa Diop's what?
He's playing in the first team. Well, kind of.
No, I thought you said he's in his 30s.
No, he's playing in the first team.
Oh, you gave me kittens then. I was about to throw something through the camera at you.
No.
Crack on.
No. Okay. So yeah, I mean, he's in his 3rd season with us, and I sort of look at him and I think, well, is he a player that, I mean, he's 24 years of age, so he's got youth on his side. He's played for the national team of France at 16s, 17s, 18s, 19s, 20s, and 21. So again, this is a guy with a lot of potential. He had Manchester United looking in when Mourinho was there. But to be honest with you, could I honestly say that if a team came in the summer and offered us 30, 35, 40 million for him, that I'd actually sort of try and make a case to keep him? I'm not too sure I would. I think I'd take the money, if I'm being honest.
Fair enough.
But I mean, he's our best technical footballer as far as our centre-backs are concerned that I've seen. I take Frederick Alves to one side because I've not seen him in a 90-minute Premier League game where I can really assess him. I mean, you can look at him at 23s and make a judgment, but that's not Premier League football.
It doesn't work, does it? Yeah.
Yeah. So with Diop, I'm not too sure. Like I say, he's our best technical centre-back that I've seen play in the Premier League, but he's definitely not our best defending centre-back. You and I have discussed this. You've obviously articulated the idea, could he be utilised as a defensive mid? Alongside Declan Rice or alongside Thomas Souček. I would probably say alongside Rice, and maybe utilising if the situation were allowed. And I did wonder whether we could have done it at Old Trafford, putting obviously at the Old Trafford game, I'd have sort of said, well, maybe put Balbuena where Diop was, move Diop to where Souček was, and move Souček up as a false nine and drop out either Antonio or Bowen. And I'd have actually brought Conor Coventry in for Noble myself, just to there you go. There's your opportunity. What a stage! Old Trafford league game. We're going for the Champions League. Show me what you got. But didn't happen. But yeah, I do wonder whether maybe he'd be any good as a central defensive midfield to give a little bit of cover to the two guys that have basically played virtually every minute of the season.
Yeah.
And then obviously we've got, as I say, Darren Randolph. Again, his future probably hinges on, does a new number one come in? If a new number one comes in, then he probably drops down into the C5.
He's done, isn't he? Yeah.
yeah, if he doesn't, then he probably gets a stay of execution and then he goes into the 1 or 2 seasons pile. So that's why I'm not too sure with him. For me, it's on a knife edge. We then move into the senior categories. Now, these guys, for one reason or another, I'd be waving a cheery goodbye to, or in some cases, kicking them out the door. Oladapo Afolayan got the goal off of the bench again in the FA Cup win against Doncaster. But the brass tacks are that this is a guy, he come to us from non-league football, Solihull Moors, and has basically done nothing for us. He's currently on loan at Bolton, I believe. Yes,
yeah.
Bolton. He's not exactly ripped up any trees there. I mean, this is a League Two club. He's made 10 appearances and he scored 0 goals. He is currently 23 years of age. He turns 24 in September. It's not going to happen, is it? I mean, let's be honest about it. Thanks very much, mate, but you're not cut out at this level. See you later. Tunji Akinola's the next one. Now he's currently on loan at Leyton Orient. Again, this is a guy, he's currently 22. He turns 23 in November. Again, you look at his stats, he's not made a single appearance in any competition for the first team. He's played 23 games on loan at Leyton Orient in League 2. I think that's probably his level, quite honestly. Thanks very much. You're out the door. Next one on the list, Felipe Anderson. What more do I need to say? This guy's got every trick in the book, but he doesn't know when to use them. He uses them at the wrong time, the wrong trick at the wrong time. I think probably he's not a winger for me. He's probably a second striker, number 10 sort of position is probably where I think we would get the best out of him. But would he get in ahead of Jesse Lingard? Not at the moment. Absolutely not. No. He's gone on loan to Porto. His confidence seems to have absolutely nosedived. I believe he's our second most expensive buy of all time, 35 odd million. We were chasing him for absolutely ages. His first season, the first 2/3 of it, 3/4, he looked decent. The beginning of the following season, he looked all right. And then basically from the moment we had that 4-0 defeat in the League Cup and beyond, his performances, and I think his confidence was a large part of it, it's just fallen off of a cliff and it hasn't sort of recovered at Porto. Last I heard, he's played 2 games this calendar year, the last of which was at the beginning of February, the last I heard. So listen, we need to get him out one way or another. We need to sort of, do what it takes to, get him out the door.
He's on big wages as well, Rob, isn't he?
We need to free up the finances to sort of try and get a little bit of business done in the summer. So, thanks, Felipe, but you're out the door, mate. Gonzalo Cardoso's the next one. Now, he's currently on loan at FC Basel or Basel, depending upon where you're from and how you pronounce it. Again, he came in with a big fanfare. I think he was a Pellegrini signing, if I remember correctly. He's Portuguese, under 19, under 20 international. But, he was signed on a 5-year contract in 2019. So that contract runs until 2024. He's on an 18-month loan deal and they do have an option to buy. So, hopefully he rips it up for them and he moves, he moves on with our best wishes. He went there in the January transfer window. And as I speak, he's had 4 appearances and 1 goal. So, listen, if he can do a job for them,
centre back, isn't he? So that'll do you.
Move him on.
Good luck to him.
Good luck to the fella. But the next one, I feel so sorry for this kid, Nathan Holland. I mean, this is a guy again. He's got so much talent, but the kid just seems to get injured at critical moments. I think he was our best player. I think in the 4-0 defeat at Oxford, if I remember correctly, or one of our better players in a night where we were absolutely awful. So I mean, I feel so sorry for him. Like I say, he just seems to keep getting injured. He's 22. He turns 23 in June. And again, I just think when you get to that stage, and at the minute he's got 2 appearances in the Premier League and 1 appearance in the League Cup for us. Or 2 appearances in the League Cup, excuse me, because the other one was about 4 seasons back. So 4 appearances in all competitions. And he's nearly 23 years of age. Again, it just smacks of Josh Cullen sort of situation for me. It's not going to happen. So thanks a lot, Nathan. We feel sorry for you with your injuries, and on you go. Similar thing with the next guy, Manuel Lanzini. I mean, this is a guy that when he came in, everybody said, what a bargain. He came to us from the Middle East, young Argentinian kid, and he looked absolutely mustard. But I've said it a few times, and this was even before the injury. I had a conversation with my brother and I asked him the question. There's not too many games that, if I'm being honest, I can actually look at Manuel Lanzini and say that he's actually taken by the scruff of the neck and owned. Probably the only one that I could think of was the first season at London Stadium against Tottenham, where he scored the only goal. And other than that, I'm probably struggling, if I'm being honest. And since the injury, and we've discussed this, he always seems to be maybe half a second behind where he needs to be in his timing, half a yard behind where he needs to be in terms of sort of like his pace. And in the Premier League, that's everything. The dividing line between success and failure in the Premier League is literally that wafer thin. And he's the wrong side of it too often. What's he, 28 years of age now, I do believe.
He is, yeah.
So, I think we need to move him on. I really do. Again, he's another high wage earner. He's got 5 caps for Argentina. Listen, if PSG want him for 15 million, I'd wish him the best of luck, and I'd wave him a cheery goodbye. Not being funny about it. Next guy there is Alfie Lewis. Well, Alfie Lewis at this precise moment in time is on loan at St. Patrick's Athletic in the Republic of Ireland. Again, this is a guy, he's 21 years of age. He turns 22 in September. Again, he's not really made much in the way of appearances. And again, I'm of the belief that if you haven't made your breakthrough by the time you get to 21, 22, certainly 23, it's probably not going to happen. So thanks very much, Alfie, but you're out the door.
Take care, son. Yeah.
David Martin, again, had that story, that Cinderella moment at Stamford Bridge, comes in for the Spanish clown, and kept a clean sheet. Final whistle goes, he goes to his knees, he's crying, teammates are slapping him, he goes up the steps to be embraced by the FA Cup winner and Boys of 86 hero and captain, Alvin Martin. But if the truth of the matter is, he's 35 years of age. He's a training ground goalkeeper. If he wants to stay at the club as a goalkeeping coach, then that's fine. I'd absolutely, try and involve him, because obviously he's a West Ham fan. But, beyond that, if he wants to carry on his career, it's not going to happen here. He's just not good enough. If he was to drop down into the Championship or League One, he can carry on his career there by all means. But, again, he's just taking up a spot that maybe Joseph Annan could take as maybe the number 3, number 4 goalkeeper, and move him on sort of like in his career path. And then we come to Winston Reid. Now, bless him, he's out on loan at Brentford. He had a horrendous knee injury very shortly after he signed his 6-year contract. Not his fault, but, it's one of those, isn't it? He's been with the club 11 years all told. He stayed with us in the Championship era and then come back. He, as we speak, has 222 career appearances, which when you sort of work out that he's been with the club 11 years is actually not great. But, he's been out for the best part of 3 years with his knee. So, listen, I love Reedy. I mean, he got a goal against Millwall in the Championship. He got a goal away on the volley. He got a goal away at Spuds. He got the last ever goal at the Bowling Ground. Was our vice captain for a period of time. He had lots of, suitors, again, the Manchester Uniteds and the Arsenals of this world. But, his knee injury is just done for him, and I wish him the very best of luck, Winston. I hope you can get promoted with Brentford. I hope you can come to an arrangement with the club, with Brentford and all the rest of it, and make that a permanent. And I'd love to be there when you come back with your new club at London Stadium with you as a Premier League player. But as far as West Ham's concerned, your race is run. Moving on, Xande Silva. Now, Xande Silva, at this precise moment in time, is on loan at Aris Thessaloniki of the Greek League. And if I've just insulted any Greeks out there, I apologise. But again, he's 24 years of age. He's older than maybe a lot of people think. Again, he's been with us. He's in his third season with us at the minute. He has the princely sum of 2 appearances and 0 goals. Well, he's not exactly tearing it up in Greece, and I would argue that that's not one of the better leagues in Europe. 25 appearances and 3 goals. So I think that probably tells its own story. He's not good enough, and that's nothing personal. I don't know the guy, but it's not good enough. And thank you very much, and you're out of here. And then we come to the last person on the list. Well, this one doesn't need much explaining because virtually everyone, I think, has put this guy exactly where I've put him. Andrei Yarmolenko, 31 years of age, Ukrainian international. Again, it's not his fault that he's picked up these injuries, but it's certainly not ours either. And he's getting paid 130 grand a week whilst he's sitting on the treatment table. It's another Andy Carroll. It's another Jack Wilshere, we need to get this guy off the wage bill. We need to sort of make a deal with him, sign off 2/3 of his contract and tell him to disappear out the door. And it's such a shame because he's quite an adept footballer, a right winger, left footer, so cutting in, getting shots away. But again, I mean, Jared Bowen's plays in that same spot and he's in my long-term plans. So, I don't really see that this guy is going to sort of break through him. And as I say, he's 31. He's injured quite a lot. And I just think we need to get him off the wage bill. And it's as simple as that. Thank you very much, Andre. Thanks a lot for your goal against Chelsea at London Stadium in our fight against relegation after the project restart. But, your time's up.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I look at your core players there. I did the shorter version of this at the beginning, and we're very much alike. We're very much where each other would be. Right, guys, I am sad to say that although we have got, I think, 1 more of these to record, 2 more of these to record,
possibly 2.
When this actually goes out, this will be the final tier list for this season. Anyway, we might revisit the series somewhere down the line. Myself and Rob are looking into some other ideas for some other series going forward. We've definitely got one on the burner at the minute. It's coming together nicely, and we're hoping to start recording that in the next maybe 7 to 10 days. So we'll have that out to you within maybe 2 weeks' time. That we'll get the new series underway, a new collection of a weekly show. Looking forward to doing those. We're going to revisit some banging seasons from the past. We've also got another idea with another one. Just some general discussions, which I think are going to be fun. So hopefully going forward, now we've concluded the tier list. Obviously going forward, we're going to have some more fun and interesting topics to discuss, and hopefully you guys will enjoy it too. Rob, I'll hand over to you for the Isla sign off, and then we will click end.
Okay, guys. Well, again, this is my usual start and finish to each stream. When I remember, I can get a bit forgetful. Blame the Alzheimer's. Isla's Army. Isla Caton is a 6-year-old girl from a West Ham supporting family. She has neuroblastoma. If you don't know what that is, guys, that is a really rare form of cancer which tends to affect children in the main, and it is really aggressive. There is no treatment for this in the NHS. So this poor family with this young girl that's stricken with this illness has to stop what they're doing, put everything on pause, and cart this poor little girl wherever it is in the world that she needs to go to get the treatment to save her life. They've still got bills coming in. They've still got to pay their rent, their mortgage, their electricity bills, all of the things that they need to pay for. But then this is magnified because they've got to pay for the treatment. They've got to pay for their lodgings of where they're going, whether it's in Barcelona or the United States. All of the sort of like the things that they need to sort of keep going whilst they're there. So they've got bills both ends of the sort of like the spectrum. Let alone the sort of like the stress that having a child in your family in this situation would cause, really bad. And then you do it in the middle of a pandemic. I mean, good God, this is absolute hell on earth, isn't it? Just put yourself in their shoes, guys, for a moment, and just think what you know, the situation, how you would feel, how pressured you would be, and you'd probably be falling apart. But this family is strong, but they need our help. It's real simple. Now, if all you can put in the tin is £1, great, fine, not a problem. You've got a PayPal page there, you've got a Just Giving page there. If you can put more in, so much the better. But if all you can put in is £1, the family will take it. Absolutely no problem at all. We thank you for your donation. Thank you very much. If you can't, because obviously I appreciate we're in the pandemic and some people have lost jobs and, you know, money's too tight to mention, as Mick Knuckle once sung. You know, I completely get that. Thank you very much for listening. But if I could ask you one thing further, please can you share this, because we need to keep this momentum going, guys. We need to save this little girl's life. Time is critical. You know, every single day is another day where this illness could, you know, really impact on this poor little girl. So it really, time is of the essence. Share it, and share it again. You know, somewhere along the line, there will be someone that if you can't put anything in the tin, they maybe can. And I thank you very much indeed for paying attention to me. Thank you.
Fantastic. So, guys, listen, it's been a pleasure, absolute pleasure of mine and Rob's over the last few weeks to have brought you these shows, this tier list. It was it started off as a small idea. We certainly didn't expect it to kind of kick off and kick in the way it has done, and people to want to get involved and enjoy as much as they have over the last few weeks. So we hope you've enjoyed watching them and the other guys coming on in the past that have helped us record these shows, as much as me and Rob have enjoyed doing them and watching back on them and seeing everyone's opinions. So that being said, that's Gatesy. I'm Duke. We are both Forged from Iron. We're on Facebook. We're on Twitter. We're on Twitter as Forged Talk. We're on Facebook as Forged from Iron West Ham United, and also the YouTube. If you've enjoyed the video, give it a like. Hit the subscribe button, the bell icon as well. So anytime that either of us do put up any new shows, any new videos, you'll get notified of that straight away. Arsenal later today. Oh no, tomorrow, when the video goes out.
When the video goes out, yeah.
So when the video goes out, if everything goes, nothing ever does with us, let's not lie. So yeah, Arsenal on Sunday then. We need 3 points. We need a big bounce back from that. Only one more thing left to say, Rob. What you got for me?
Come on, you Irons.
Come on, you Irons, indeed.